Namaste, everyone. Uh, Good evening and hearty welcome to all our participants on the second day of this 10-day IKS certificate course, which we commenced yesterday with an overview of Indic storytelling traditions. And we had a very interesting and engaging session yesterday. Yesterday's session was meant to be a preliminary introduction to the long, sustained, and rich legacy of Bharat's storytelling traditions. And through this week, we will have different speakers who will talk about different aspects of Bharatiya storytelling. I am once again pleased to welcome all of you in this fourth edition of online 2-week national IKS certificate course jointly being organized by Nucleus of Learning and Development, Baroda, Gujarat, and BRB College of Commerce, Raichur, Karnataka. We are exploring the storytelling legacy of Bharat, and as you can see the slide on screen, we are going to understand how stories shaped and sustained the Bharatiya civilization, one of the most ancient civilizations of the globe. I'm pleased to welcome our key resource person speaker for today's session, Ms. Zelam Tambe. Namaste, Zelam. Welcome to today's session. I will briefly introduce Zelam. She is an important member of the NLD team. And I'm also pleased to welcome Dr. Pinku Jha from the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, Gujarat, who is going to do his session with us tomorrow. And he already has a task for all of us today evening. So Dr. Pinku will be presenting tomorrow. And before his presentation and lecture tomorrow, he has shared with us a Google form, which I will pass on in the chat box towards the end of today's session. I will also share the Google form in the WhatsApp group. So all of you are requested to respond to this Google form. It's a brief form, and we are hoping that our responses will help Dr. Pinku navigate his session tomorrow. So thank you, Pinku, and we look forward to your session tomorrow. So today, Zelam is going to talk about a very interesting theme, a journey from visuals to words, from ancient to modern India. And today, it's my privilege to introduce to all of you Ms. Zelam Tambe. She is based out of Vadodara. She is a freelance professional storyteller and a theatre playwright. Academically, she holds a postgraduate degree in business administration and human resource management from the renowned Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. Recently, she has completed certification in Introduction to Film Studies from the Swayam portal. This course was designed by IIT Madras. She is a published author. She has published 11 books as a co-author in various anthologies from different genres, and currently she serves as the visiting faculty in different institutions of the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. She teaches creative writing and visual storytelling at the Faculty of Journalism and Communication, script writing, storyboarding, and moving images, an introduction to students of the faculty of MRID, students of the Maharaja Ranjit Singh Institute of Design, Faculty of Fine Arts, storytelling to stagecraft to the students of the Faculty of Family and Community Sciences, and Mass Media Studies at the Faculty of Commerce, MSU, Baroda. Before this, she has conducted many programs with NLD, FDPs on storytelling, creative writing as a pedagogical tool, visual storytelling, theater and education. So she's closely associated with NLD. She regularly undertakes independent workshops on storytelling and story writing. One of her next workshops is happening shortly on 22nd March in Vadodara. She engages with students and individuals of different age groups, as well as working professionals in both the online and offline mode for her storytelling workshops. She is associated with Friends Society Vadodara, Balabhavan Vadodara, uh, for her work in storytelling and theater skills. But more importantly, she is an active member of Triveni Theatre since 2015, where she began her stint as a playwright, then as a director, and recently she performed as an actor in the National Theatre Festivals at Kolkata and Bhopal under the able leadership and guidance of veteran theatre professional educator Shri P.S. Chari. She has also written two feature films for which the script is registered with the Screenwriters Association. She's written an episode for Crime Patrol, and currently she's writing a short film for a production house in Baroda. And she's also an active member of the Film Society of Vadodara. So Zelam brings with her vast experience, not just in teaching, but in actual professional skill development in terms of theater, art, storytelling, script writing, and stage performance. She will add very crucial and important Bharatiya perspectives from a practitioner's point of view in her session today. As you can see, the title of her session is The Wisdom of Indian Knowledge System Through Storytelling. I believe she was herself invested in the art and craft of storytelling under her grandfather and his teachings. So she is carrying on this legacy that she has received from her family. So welcome once again, Zelam, and we look forward to a very engaging session with you. Like yesterday, I would like to share with participants that the chat box is open for interaction, discussion, comments, and questions. Though we are recording all our sessions, we would like all our participants to attend live sessions and interact with the resource person. So let's start today's session. Over to you, Zela.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Nidhi ma'am, for such a lovely introduction. And now that you have set the stage, and you just mentioned that that's a family legacy for me to come up with this storytelling as a passion. So yes, on this occasion, I am reminded of one of the small instances, and I would love to share with all of you here. That's a small part of my life, which introduced me to storytelling. Actually, I was very small, and I remember once, we in Indian houses, we sit together as a family to pray, and my daddy used to sit with me, and we used to chant the Tabawni and Hanuman Chalisa, the Chaupais, and the Sundarkand part, and all those things. So, being a child, it was very curious for me to catch up with the Sanskrit words and the verses that she used to chant. But it gave me an opportunity to ask her that, can you make this simplify for me? I cannot catch up with the words, and if I mispronounce, because she was very strict, so she used to say that, you cannot mispronounce the word and say any mantra, like you have to have a proper meaning to it. You have to have a proper pronunciation to it, and then only you can say it. So I was very confused, and yeah, because of the age. But then, I asked her to simplify the things for me. So one day, what she did was, she sat with me. She narrated me every verse in form of a story. So then, at this point, this triggered in me something, because I was lost in the, we actually we belong to a samaj where storytelling is everything around us. So she brought to me, cultivated me the interest of how you tell a story, how you narrate a story, and the one who is a listener, he actually gets inside that story. He is transported to the world that you have created in telling the story to him. So yeah, I welcome you all once again with this learning of my life, and I would like to share one another important aspect about Indian storytelling. The Bharatiya under the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara is the storytelling back then. It was very easier. It was, you can be a part of the storytelling at any point of time, and still you get references over a period of time as the story advances. So you do not feel lost. So same is the thing when we know as the story of we celebrate Onam, and that is a celebration of Raja Bali's devotion towards Lord Vishnu. And this story reminds me. Yesterday, Nidhi ma'am correctly mentioned about all the festivities, all the festivals that and pujas, and the shloks that we perform. Everything adds up to tell us something about the occasion that happened. So yeah, the story of Vaman Avatar also tells us the story of Raja Bali's devotion, and we all know about it, right? But then one connection, as I recently, like 2 years back, when I learned a certificate course in astrology, because again that is in my roots. My father knows how to read the Kundali. My Dadaji used to know, and now I know it how to read the Kundali. So and now I have the Shravan Nakshatra. So when I was chatting with one of my gurus, he told me that why do you the importance of Shravan is listening. Yesterday Nidhi ma'am just portrayed that Bharatiya in Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, Shravan and Vachikam both are very important. So Shravan is very important because the way you have to have a very effective listening, and the story of Vaman Avatar tells you about that. In spite of the fact that now I'll connect you here with the story. While the saransh of why what should a Shravan Nakshatra person do? So here it connects to the story of Shukra, Lord Shukracharya. He told once to Raja Bali that I have an impression that the person whom you see and consider to be a small child who is standing in front of you is it's a trap. It's a trap being laid by Lord Vishnu. You better be very careful about it. But he did not listen to the advice from his guru. And so at one point what happens is, he goes on to, before that that pani grahan is done, the sankalp is being taken by Raja Bali to give him all the three worlds. Shukracharya even tries to stop him by entering into the kamandal, so that the flow of the water does not end up in the palm of Raj Bali. So at that time, Vishnuji played a trick by hitting something which actually damaged the eye of Shukracharya ji. So the thing is, he considered this to be a trap and advised Rajabali. So this is the story which tells us about listening properly, listening effectively, listening before you do something, before you take any decision or make any choice. So that's the story of a nakshatra. Again, coming to Shukra, people often will tell you that if you have a bad wherever the Shukra is placed in your birth chart, the next house, the right hand side house of it will have a something lacking in it. Say for example, it's in the lagna, it's in the first house. The second house will have something damaged into it. So why? Because it's the eye that was damaged. The eye of Shukra was damaged, and that's the right eye that was damaged, and that's the reason the stories are there which connects with us as an explanation about all the things that we know about Vaman Avatar, the Shravan Nakshatra. Now, taking you back to the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, we all know one person who is a greatest storyteller of all times. He tells a story, and he freely moves to all the realms. We know him as Narad Muni. He always says Narayan, Narayan. So let me tell you that he was appointed. He was a master journalist, and he had some amazing communication skills to tell the stories. To He was an amazing narrator. It was very flawless while he narrated the stories, while the wisdoms came from him very very nicely. So why he was appointed once, let me tell you. So Rishi Durvasa's curse, if you know the story, Indradev was being cursed by Rishi Durvasa, and that led to Samudra Manthan, which is a very important part of our scriptures, our Vedas and Purans. So that gives us the understanding of, two forces fighting with each other to find the balance. So as a narrator, in every storytelling, if you take a role of a narrator is a person who will not just introduce the story, bridge the gap between a performer and the storyteller, but he is very keenly bridging the gap and creating a constant balance of, what is reaching to the audience. So that he serves as a catalyst. So Naradji served as a catalyst in telling you a story, and he did that from a point of view of bhakti, devotion, right? He spreaded the wisdom through setting the emotions, through connecting with the people. He connected with all the gods. He connected with all the asurs. He then, told the situation, and then the exact execution of the Samudra Manthan happened. So stories always will transform you. Why? Because we have a certain understanding of one aspect of the story, but while the story unfolds itself to different dimensions, we are sometimes very spellbound to know that, oh, this might be also one of the perspectives. So it changes. The story leads us to different dimensions of something that we were not
Sorry, can
aware
I
about.
interrupt you, Zelam?
And that's, yes.
Just a minute. I think there was some audio disturbance for a few seconds from your side. I think it should be
Yeah,
the
actually,
earbud.
the earbud was low on battery, so I just removed that one. And
Okay, okay, no worries, no worries. Yeah, please go ahead. Please continue.
yeah, yeah. So by telling about how the transformation happens while listening to a story, there are critical moments that are being highlighted, which actually draws the attention of an audience. And this is done through a narrator, a storyteller, who actually helps you to make choices and form decisions. That is done to bring the balance, in a way that the narrative serves the purpose of giving an information, quenching the curiosity. It also helps you to achieve the divine purpose, or it helps you to relate yourself with different understanding of how the communication unfolds in a way that that it effectively. Yeah. So the storytelling back then, all the aspects that were related to storytelling, which were mentioned in our Purans, through the scriptures that we have read, through the Gyan of Gita, we come across many stories that has the impact on us through the following aspect, which we commonly know as, the cause and effect relationship. Say, for example, if there are stories that lead to something, right? So if this reminds me of a story of, Ahilya's curse. The decision was taken by her husband. Indra was the one who was the culprit in that story, and she ended up being cursed to turn into a stone. So there is a cause and there is an effect. That is the storytelling. So it actually, what happens is, when a story connects you to cause and effect, you actually get to know both the sides of it, right? And then it has an aspect that is left at one point, and then it connects again with the reference. Say for example, at one point the curse is there and she is living after so many years, when Bhagwan Ram, visits the ashram and he touches the stone. The Ahilya is again brought to life. So again, this completes the loop of the story. So that is exact understanding of what happened, why it happened, what was the purpose, what was the lessons learned by the character. And in this journey, in knowing this aspect, we also understand that okay, fine, one should do like this, one should not behave like this, one should be very cautious about taking decisions in a particular way, and so on and so forth, right? The storytelling evokes the emotions, right? So understand, here I'm reminded of a story where it connects directly to the heart and takes you inside the story. I'm reminded of a story when Bhagwan Sri Ram visits the ashram of Shabriji. And Shabriji, offers the bear to her, to him, and he eats the half-eaten, bears. So what happens is, this connects that motherhood can be seen in any person, with the I mean the quality of a motherhood can be seen in any person if that devotion and that nikhalas bhav of Shabri is being taken by, or performed by any person. So story, this stirs the emotion within you. Then we talk about spread of awareness and devotion. So we the stories make us aware about our rights and duties. If there are so many stories around Kurukshetra war, right? So they talk about the devotion, they talk about the awareness that we should have, that they talk about the responsibility. They also hints towards what is right, what is wrong. We all know that Ramayana is the story, about what should be there. I mean, what is one's duty. And Mahabharata is something that talks about what one should avoid, right? So through awareness and devotion, we are channelized through the storytelling of through the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara. Again, when we talk about critical aspect of transformation, we see the transformation in the characters, and we are so connected and emotionally attached to the character that this transformation and subtle realization even we get affected from it. And so there is a behavioral change in the pattern of our thinking as well. And a very good example here is during the COVID, when we were asked to restrict ourselves in our homes, and DD National played the Mahabharata and Ramayana. We all were lost into the sentiment because we were going through a rough time, and we were transformed physically and spiritually during that time. It was very meditative stage also, at least for me. Then provoking the thoughts and balanced behavior. Stories, they help you to provoke different. It channelizes within you the aspects that you thought that once. I mean, you cannot deal with, but they are so triggering that it helps you to sometimes ask yourself this question of your about your existence also. So if you channelize to read the if you happen to read the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, there are people who always tell you that there is just one granth that you can refer to in any situation and walk of your life. When you feel dull, you just open any page of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and you get the answer. So I mean, this is something that provokes the thought of an individual, that helps you to back yourself, that helps you to I mean, that encourages you to take the next the next step. Now when you talk about Narad Muni's the gyan that he channelized and he shared with all of us. His role was not just to bridge the gap between the what Amrit that he, in form of the wisdom that he had, he also helped the people to make understand that we belong to the realm where the karma was very important. So how one can peacefully do the karma and get rid of this manushya yoni and can get the spiritual. I mean, from the get free from the bonds that bonding that is there. So that to conclude the stories during the divine ancient Bharat, it helped you to pave the way of dharma through storytelling. It told you what is right, what is wrong, and righteous duty, behavioral aspect of human behavior. So now, when we talk about dharma, let's move towards Ved Puran, towards the Dwapar Yug, where we know about Muni Ved Vyas and the legacy of Indian. See, Ved Vyas ji was very renowned for his his teachings, and he was the one who wrote. I mean, who brought the Mahabharata alive. So that the transmission was very important from him, and the story around that part. I'm very keen to tell you all the story of Janmajay. Janmajay was a great grandson of Arjun, the son of Parikshit ji. And what happens actually when the war is done? I mean, the war is finished. Kurukshetra war is done. Parikshit is made the Raja, and Pandavas live for on their last towards their salvation. So what happens is Raja Janmajay, he still have that Arjun's curse was there with the Takshak. So the Sarps, that puja was still left. It did not happen during the time of Arjun, nor did it happen during the time of Parikshit ji. So what happened is one of the disciples of Ved Vyas, his name is Vaishampayan. He actually did the yagna of Sarpa Yagna Satra with Janmajay, and while doing so, this reminds me of a Satyanarayan Puja. Parallelly along with the story of Ved Vyasjis and this event, I would like to share here. In our homes, when we actually do the Satyanarayan Puja, what happens is, there are different shlokas that the Panditji tells us. Apart from that, that there are different I have this always the curiosity to know that what does the shlok means. So during those times when the yagnas, it was very long yagnas. Matlab, it did not have the limited sitting. Yeah, say for example the 4 minute katha, 5 minute katha, 5 hour katha. It was very long. I mean, the yajman has to sit for hours together. So what happens is, along with the yajman, everybody sat along, and they also listened to all the shlokas. But then sometimes it becomes very monotonous to learn to only listen to the shlokas for the longer period of time. So what happens? This Rishi Munis used to tell the stories in between as fillers, and this was very interesting. So in one of those instances, while Rishi Vaishampayan, the disciple of Ved Vyas, he was telling the story to Janmajay about his great grandson Arjun through the references of Mahabharata. One of the rishis in the entire periphery, all the rishis, because the Yagna Satra was there, say all the Rishi Munis were being invited for the Ahuti. In one of those, there was one rishi called Shaunak. Shaunak Rishi was there, and he was a poet, he was a storyteller, he was a rishi. So he learns about Mahabharata. He learns about the Mahakavya, and then he actually goes to Naimisharanya and he tells his disciples. So see how the stories have the capacity to travel from generation to generation. It was passed on from Ved Vyas to Vaishampayan, and now one Vaishampayan's not direct disciple, but Ugrashrava, someone who was a storyteller of that time, he then goes to Rishi Shaunak, and along with that, this is the oral storytelling tradition we are talking about. How the stories impact through generations. How are they carried forward through generations, from one generation to another generation, highlighting the importance of dharma. So that is our rich cultural heritage that we are talking about. So it's about understanding the parampara that that signifies the essence of storytelling traditions through the philosophical wisdom, ethics, cultural history, and oral transmission, connecting the values and ethics over a period of time. So that really helps us to understanding in that the guru's role is very important. Guru's role is really important because Guru is a margadarshak. He is a he shows you the marg, right? So we understand one thing that while we preserve the ancient text, or while we have the spiritual gyan and everything, but then there is somebody out there in form of a guru who will actually tell you about what happens and how one should behave in certain situations, so and so forth. Say, for example, Brahmarishi Vashisht and Brahmarishi Vishwamitra. So their importance and their role in Prabhu Shri Ram's life was enormous. While Prabhu Shri Ram was growing up, Vashisht Muni, he enlightened Bhagwan Ram with all the Vedas, with all the Purans, with all the stories related to of how one should be as a one should have undertake the duty of a human being, right? Going from a gurukul, so learning all the duties of in a human body. So he enlightened this way. And the another guru, the Brahmarishi Vishwamitra, he when Bhagwan Ram, we all know that he took Ram and Lakshman, to kill the demons who were very chaotic during the yagnas. They intervened, and they used to demolish all the yagnas and all those things. So understand, now the role of a guru has transformed from one guru to another guru, but then the way of guiding also, the principles also change. Now Rishi Vishwamitra, he tells Ram and Lakshman, he enlightens Ram and Lakshman with the shastra and the shastra. So while shastra, so earlier they learned from one guru the shastra, and now they learned about shastra vidya. So that is also very important. And while we talk about guru, I would like to tell you about the importance of the katha kirtan and impact of guru. What happens is, it's not mentioned here in this slide, but this just reminded me of one incident. If you have heard about the Shastra that was very famous during Adi Shankaracharyaji's time. So once he was traveling in the northern part of India, crossing the Joshimat and all. So he landed up in one Mahishi Nagari, where he came across a very powerful Pandit named Mandan Mishra, and his wife Ubhay Bharti. And I was surprised when I listened to this story for the very first time, because Adi Shankaracharya ji was a followed brahmacharya, and the moment the Shastra was arranged in the village periphery, everybody sat and everybody thought that Adi Shankaracharya ji has attained wisdom. He is a Brahma. He has achieved a lot in his life. He has achieved the Brahma Gyan. So how can Mandan Mishra stand his wisdom? And he will definitely lose. And there was one condition when the Shastras happened. So Ubhay Bharti, very clever, and I would like to put up here at this instance one example when our Gyan Parampara had the role of women was not less than, I mean, it was very powerful during those days. The stree was given the importance to do the shastra. This was the very first time when a lady came in front of Adi Shankaracharya ji, and she debated shastra हुआ उनके बीच. So what happens is, at that time one point was there when Adi Shankaracharya ji, because of so and so, the shastra went towards the grihastha ashram part, in which, and now that Adi Shankaracharya ji was a brahmachari, followed brahmachari, so he did not know. So what happens is, when we talk about Natya Shastra, we always ask the person to get into the skin of the character. So parakaya pravesh, that is the term that we use to portray a certain role. So Adi Shankaracharya ji also goes into, I mean, he takes the break. He asks, to continue the Shastra, and he goes and visit a wisdom where he finds a dead king, and he actually he enters the with his all the virtues and wisdom and siddhis. He enters the dead body and makes it alive, and then he actually experiences the grihastha ashram, and then he comes and challenges the resumes the shastra again. So that is the power of our Jnana Parampara. I mean, it surprises you. It captivates you through its storytelling and interactive, dialogues. So that is the occasion where we are reminded about, how the storytelling happens in current days time, where we see during Dashera, we see the Ravan Vadh at a very large scale. It happens in that, there is this Ram Leela happening. There are auspicious occasions like, the Durga Puja, in which we sing the glory of Amba Mata, the nine swarups that she has. Each swarup has one own story. So we have a very large scope of telling the stories, and the stories are so interconnected that you start with one thing, and then you end up doing something other, but then there is a reference which is connected, interconnected with this, both the stories. So yeah. So coming back to the historical roots of how Katha Kathan, was undertaken post Mahabharata, when civilizations, were there, and storytelling became more adaptive and accommodative. This happened during the time when people, they started living in tribes. They started understanding culture. They had their own cultures, and they had their own setup. So we see there was initially, there was kafila, in which kafila is the tribal people, banjaras. They there is a community setup. They work as a community together. There was a branch of people who used to roam from one area to another, but then not individually, but keeping in mind the safety concerns, they used to roam with the entire kafila. So that was the essence of taking the story from one region to another, going there and singing the glory with the pride about their culture. And जहाँ वो बस जाते हैं वहां पर भी ये सारी चीजें होती है. That means you settle in one place, and you bring all the wisdom from your own uh, civilization, and that place is also now being a part of your civilization. So yeah, that is the essence where the example here is, I would like to cite, is of Vikramaditya and the famous story of Sinhasan Batisi, if you are aware about it. Then we have to understand the essence of storytelling. So essence of storytelling has to do with how they convey the deeper meaning to gain the knowledge and prosperity over a period of time. Stories that were used to develop strategies, for example, Raniti and Rajniti. I would like to in particular give you the example of two important, I mean, there are a lot of events, but then there are two important events that were there. One which was, the strategy used by Chhatrapati Maharaji during his time. which we know, which is fondly known as Ganimi Kawa. So it's a war culture. If you remember the story, how he was very he was successful in leading the Chowni of Aurangzeb just by telling a story. He told a story that he spreaded the rumors in form of story that uh, uh, tell Aurangzeb that Maharaj is not well, bedridden, so he could not come in person to meet you. So let him take the rest. He'll be there inside your. And once, looking at the occasion, he was being sent the fruits to by Aurangzeb himself to get recovered. And in one such occasion, when initially, he deceived the darbans and the peheredaris, and he fled away from there. So this is our Bharatiya parampara. You tell the story to even you strategize to make your competitor, by making him fall into this trap. Another example is Vidur Niti. During, if you remember the Lakshagraha, he said he actually symbolically he sends a rat into the into all the gifts that are being sent to the Pandavas at Varnava during the occasion. And then the Yudhishthir being very knowledgeable and keen to know the curious mind wants to know the story of decoding the code behind why a rat would be sent into as a gift. So understand one thing, story also unlocks a lot of wisdom in you. You actually go on to decode the things, and so it opens the layers which you thought that, I mean, you will never sit with it and you will never unlock that. But stories help you to do that. Then we talk about Krishna Niti. We talk about there's an incident in Mahabharata, in particularly Kurukshetra war time, when Ashwathama was, he want, Guru Dronacharya was being targeted, and there was rumors spread of Ashwatthama Hanani in Narova Kunjarova. So this is a very famous part from Mahabharata where the story. I mean, the incidents. So I will not take you towards the incidents, and even Pinku sir will be citing because he is going to talk about Mahabharata. So it tells you that how the story actually surprises you. It has that element of even amusing you. It has an element of giving you a shock, right? And then we talk, how can we forget about the Chanakya Niti? The Chanakya Niti, we all know that Chanakya was very determined when he took the pratigna of demolishing the entire Nanda dynasty, and how he prepared Chandragupta as a competitor for him. But then the road was not easy. He had to capture all the kingdoms and make it Akhand Bharat. So during those times, it was very, because the communication was done through through the pagam, or say it was the khabri who used to go and tell you the things. So during those times, there was no telephonic communication. So the things used to reach a bit late. So in those moments, taking the opportunity and creating such scenario, it talks about the intelligence of Chanakya. And so that's the reason we know him for his niti. And during current time, if we talk about, we know how the things are working at a geopolitical sphere, and we know the spy activities, and we also know how Ajit Doval sir is being remembered because of the he's a master strategic maker in our for our armed forces. So stories, they travel a lot. They travel in form of different themes, and we know that these themes, like epics, if we talk about, so it talks about the cultural values. When we talk about the Purans, it talks about the spiritual understanding. When we talk about fables, yesterday Nidhi ma'am also told you about the animals being used in form of stories. So initially, when human beings, I mean, they were not a part of the storytelling, but the fables, they engaged the narrative through the animals, because it was very easier for them to trust. It was very easier for them to see a figure like that, and to keep trust on the story being narrated around that particular animal, personifying the traits of human behavior. And then we have the devotional aspect to it, in which the Mahakavya, and the devotion, the glory of God is, the Srutis are being told, the Chopais are being told in form of poetic expression. The impact of Bharatiya Parampara of storytelling, it has a very important role when we talk about how it connects, with the human beings, because it has traveled through the shared experiences, and the knowledge that is transmitted has got a cohesion to it. There are things that the individuals connect to different emotions at different two individuals will connect to two different emotions at the same time while the story is on, while they are listening to the story or while they are watching to the story. So understand one thing, that something that connects with them, they it is the shared value and the experiences that we are talking about. So which is very rich in our culture. Now coming to katha kathan in education, we have grown up to, I mean, Nidhi ma'am also yesterday mentioned about, you all remembered a teacher who will tell the stories to explain you the concept. So it's very rightly mentioned by her, because we all remember the expression of the teacher while telling and narrating the story, that helps us to understand the lesson more easily, right? And stories have that power where the characters feel like they are, they're there in front of us. We can actually visualize them, right? Visualizing gives us the understanding of what the character is going through. What are the how we create the empathy for the character, and so we are drawn into the story. Once we are drawn into the story, baat khatam, then we understand all the aspects of the story being told, and we understand how effectively it is being communicated to us, and we grasp the entire understanding of how it what are the aspects that the storyteller or the narrator wants us to understand and believe in. So through the characters, yes. Then we talk about the ethics. Storytelling also has got a large group of people as a community they involve, and in a it is sometimes it serves story serves as a medium of therapy also. While you listen to why in the west, or here also, we have this understanding of we connect with our grandparents very easily, because they tell us something with their wisdom, with their own experiences around it, and then they convert that into the story, and then they tell us. So it becomes very easy for us to understand. Even the complex of the ideas are being told in form, are being cut into pieces in form of stories and then delivered through a narrative. It helps us to enhance the critical thinking, and it helps us to understand the story. Plus it helps us to in building up the ethics. It helps us to understand what are the values attached to it. So transforming the lives through katha, storytelling is a power when we indulge into the community gathering. We have the sapta. I don't know whether in your cities it happens or not, but during summer times here in Baroda, there are a lot of platforms where on the Maidan they have Ram Katha. And recently, Murari Bapu used to do this Katha, Ram Katha. I used to visit this with, as a child. I used to visit this with my parents, and we used to see what happens. Charm of storytelling is, the story. You have been listening to the story, but the version of it by the storyteller is different each time. So if you listen to Ramayana from the as a narrator, when Murari Bapu shares it, then you are lost into the bhakti of and the beautification of how Ram's charitra is. And my parents and my grandparents always used to tell me that if you want to, have a hold on, your anger, or if you want to dive inside, you read the charitra of Mahapurush, say, Gajanan Maharaj, Swami Samartha, Sai Baba. All their lives are being written in form of stories, and while we read those aspects of their lives, we are so much driven into the aspect that connects with our soul, and it stirs our emotions to believe in the certain things, right? So when we talk about vachikam, shravanam, aharyam, angikam, and satvikam, so it's all a part of Natya Shastra. Vikas sir will definitely touch upon this aspect, but as a theater practitioner, I would like to recommend here that when you actually go onto the stage and you are performing certain character, you portray a role of a character, you are I mean, you lose the value, lose the essence of what you are, but you are now portraying a role of certain character. So while you do this, your mannerisms change. So by mannerisms change, I mean vachikam. You have a different tonation to it while you portray a character. You are a different listener where you listen to from a point of that person, that character role that you're playing. Aharyam is, Angikam and Aharyam deals with the expression that you come up with, the clothes that you wear, and while portraying that particular role. And Satvikam is how much you have taken this character into yourself, the soul. Uh, then at one point you understand that while you're delivering the, say for example, if I'm portraying the role of Rani Lakshmibai, and while I'm doing this in front of people, then while I deliver my lines, people will not see Zelam. People will see actually Rani Lakshmibai. So that is the essence of getting in the soul of the character, and that is the power of storytelling. So if you don't if you don't even go into Vachikam, Shravanam in itself can also lead you to that particular angle. And when we talk about storytelling, it has one uddesha of engaging. So this reminds me of one of the instances of the Prithviraj Raso. Uh, in the court of Prithviraj, there was his childhood friend called Chand Bardai. He was a poet and a storyteller. So what happened when Ghori, he caught off all, he conquered this. Kannauj and Delhi, and he caught Prithviraj and he jailed him. And then you know there was a instance when Chand Bardai spreaded the rumors of in form of a story that there is a person. Of course, he was in disguise, but then he spreaded the rumors that he can चांद को नहीं सूरज को he would hide the sun for some moments on this particular day, and this went on as rumors, as stories. And this triggered Mohammad Ghori, and he wanted to see it कि ये कौन है जो इस तरह से सूरज को भी ढक सकता है अपने पावर से. So he went there and see this is all very masterfully done, huh? Very intellectually done. Chand Bardai was a astrologer. He knew that after 2 days there will be a grahan which will be seen in that particular area where Ghori is right now. So he goes there at Afghan, and he actually while this ghatna is happening, he actually shows Gori that see, this is, I told you, this is there. So this is, this creates a lot of he Mohammad Ghori, he starts believing in Chand Bardai's talent. Then what happens? He actually goes to the Karavas where Prithviraj is put, and he meets him. And then he says that, my friend Prithviraj, he knows, the Shabda Vedi Ban, and I will now challenge Ghori about it. He knows the Prithvi. He can have a he can be blindfolded, and he can shoot the arrow, and he can वो निशाना साध सकते हैं. So he challenges Gori, and because Gori was impressed with his all these jugards, so he says that, okay, you do one thing, you ask him to undertake this kind of kartab in front of me. So the day was fixed, and Chand Bardai very cleverly, without anybody knowing, he recites a poetry, a verse, where he tells Prithviraj about where the Sardar, where the Ghori, and where Muhammad Ghori is sitting. He actually calculates Angul Ashk Praman, ता ऊपर सरदार है चुको ना चौहान. So he tells this to Prithviraj Chauhan, and he understands the exact measurement of where the Ghori is sitting, and he then shoots the arrow, and Ghori is killed. So this is the magic of storytelling. You understand it with the character, with the way it is engaging you, and this is how your it cleverly channelizes your way of thinking. Now it actually bridges the past and present through stories. We have a very rich culture. When I would like you to take a moment and just go through these two shloks. The first shlok, it's a opening shlok of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and the second shlok is the end shlok of Srimad Bhagavad Gita when the war is done with, right? So both of them have Sanjay in it. Sanjay only, the first shlok is being told by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra, and the second shlok is also told by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. Now, what happens is, in between, if I want to tell this all to my, young students who are, who they don't know how to read Sanskrit, or they are not interested. So what happens is, when I want to make it into a crisp storytelling, I just tell them that what exactly the entire Dharma Yudh, the Kurukshetra war talks about is the first word. If you Sandhi Vished Dharma Kshetre, so on the Dharma Kshetra, that means, so if you Sandhi Vished Dharma and Nitir Mitir Mama, that is Mama. So it will give you a two-word story that is Mama Dharma, that is my Dharma, my duty. That is the entire reflection of all the storytelling that is done in between all the 18 adhyayas of our Srimad Bhagavad Katha. With this, I'm done with the session for today. I open the floor for all the comments, and I would love to hear from you all. While growing up, which were the stories that encouraged you, that belong to our own Jnana Parampara, and it still stays with you, because stories are always there to stay with you, no matter what the age. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Zelam, for that very elucidate and elaborate presentation on how Bharat storytelling has taken us from words to visuals, how stories travel through time, through generation, how stories build characters, and how stories help us to expand our worldview. There are a lot of important takeaways from your session, and I will reserve it for our discussion and interaction. But I was just putting some very important points when Zelam was presenting. The participants can go through some key pointers that I have shared in the chat box. So, Zelam has told us that storytelling has the element of cause and effect. And in modern science, in modern technology, we often talk about cause and effect. Uh, s- like yesterday, I shared about the purpose of storytelling, Zelam has also reinforced the idea of what is the uddeshya, goal of storytelling. So it's not a unilinear goal that Bharatiya storytelling was done with. It was done with an educational purpose, a strategic purpose. I think it was very interesting to understand the strategic and political purposes of storytelling. And in the present time, since we are living in turbulent geopolitical scenarios, we know how storytelling is important even today. Through stories, if you are able to convey your narrative and convince the world about your narrative, your side of the story. So, for example, in the war that is currently taking place, we clearly see two sides. I'm talking about the war in the Middle East. There is a side of US and Israel, there is a side of Iran and the other Gulf countries. Everybody has their stories to tell, but empathy and sympathy is generated based on whose story is more convincing and believable. So, storytelling is also important for that kind of narrative building. In Zelam's session, I observed that she shared many, many interesting stories from the cultural and civilizational repository of Bharat. And of course, many of us may or may not know all these stories. So you can just take these references and try and read and explore these stories. Another important point is the interconnection, the linkage between one story and another. So, no story can be evaluated in a complete vacuum of time and space. कि ये कहानी इस युग की थी तो वहीं खत्म हो गई है और उसका आने वाले युगों में या खास करके आज के युग में उसका संदर्भ या महत्व कम है. That is not the case. The relevance, the interconnectedness, going back to references is extremely important. And of course, I have always believed that when we read storytelling stories from our cultural repository, even the human, even the animal characters and the divine characters come up with many humanly qualities, like they are greedy, they are jealous, they are fighting, they are bickering, they have emotions, etc. So, yeah, this is something that we can ponder upon. Okay. Uh, yes, so let me just read out some comments. There is one comment from Kalpesh Parmarji, and there is another comment from Sudhakarji. Yes, so I think Dr. Kalpesh's question is, what are the shortcomings of traditional methods of storytelling in ancient India? And I think Dr. Kalpesh has then shared some response as well. Another point that he's trying to make, it's a long response, so maybe we can all, I can copy and share it with Zelam and we can reflect on it. Another question is, I can also, what is the comparison between traditional methods with modern storytelling like films, novels, or digital media? And I think then there is some comment about the Prithviraj Chauhan story that was shared by you, Zelam, of Chand Bardai and Prithviraj Chauhan. I think this is some AI tool that has generated, and there are some uh, comments with respect to the veracity and authenticity of historical records with respect to how Prithviraj Chauhan was he executed or how did he die. Okay, so we can think about that. And of course, Sudhakar ji says that we should examine uh, Dr. Kalpesh's comments. We should understand itihas and how it is different from history, absolutely. So I'll request Zelam to comment, and then I'll comment on the itihas and history part. Yeah, but before I request Zelam to comment, we have about 15 minutes for discussion, questions, comments, not just on today's session, but on yesterday's session also. If anybody wants to ask anything, we can spend about 15 to 18 minutes. So please feel free to post your questions. Yes, go ahead, Zelam.
So, just a moment. I was reading. Yeah. So, yeah, I have read the comments by Dr. Kalpesh ji, and these were the instances which were very famous. And of course, I to be very honest, I've not read the Prithviraj Raso, but the thing is, these were the instances which we heard about in form of stories, and which cultivated our interest. So that is where I actually went on to read the short stories about Prithviraj's life, and I have that book, and I have narrated the incidents according to that. And I think Kalpesh ji has mentioned about, as you rightly said, this might be something that is generated by AI, because the way it is being noted down one by one, it has all the information uh, that I talked about. So coming back to the point where I think that when we actually read, and even there are different versions of it that we come across, right? So say for example, there's somebody has translated some stories, and written their version and interpretation about the entire tale, and you go on to read that. So there's no harm, but then as a story, what is your takeaway? That is very important. From that story, what you have understood, that is important, and how it has transformed your knowledge, your entire mindset, and how you have evolved as a person after reading that story. So that is what is important as per in my opinion. Nidhi ma'am, if you want to share anything, so you can just go ahead with it. And when we talk about itihasa, so I think no matter how much we move ahead and go ahead in our lives, we actually have many points where we want to take references from our own culture, from our own itihas. So we fall back to that parts, and we actually take the references, and we make it workable in our current scenario, in our current lives.
Yes, sorry, I was just struggling to unmute myself. Yes, Shweta ji will take your question next. So, about stories and their different versions, my personal take on this is that stories will naturally and organically, at least in the Bharatiya tradition, they will have their different versions, and historical accuracy is debatable. I mean, sitting in the 21st century, we have the luxury to debate whether such a story really took place or not, such characters actually existed or not. Sometimes I think we may have to suspend that kind of quest for historical accuracy, and would have to focus on what the stories are trying to teach us, because they are time immemorial. And the second point that I would like to make is the fact that because of the oral tradition, these stories have survived, and they have survived through a very, very, very long time. So it's quite possible there may be some mishra reinterpretation, multiple interpretations, but still they have survived, and we are their custodians for today. So their mere survival tells us that such characters and such historical figures, ऐतिहासिक characters, did exist as part of our larger civilizational uh, framework. So that's one part of the response. As long as stories are able to retain the dharmic core, the civilizational core, these reinterpretations and different versions are acceptable. Again, it's a personal take. In one part of the country, you may have a particular version of the story where the protagonist may be looked upon in a different way, but in another part of the country, the protagonist would not be liked and the version of the story would be different. But despite this, if the civilizational core is kept intact, if the dharmic messaging and the dharmic framework is kept intact, because we are talking about Bharatiya Parampara, then the purpose of stories is served. Shortcomings, what I see has been posted by Dr. Kalpesh G is limited accessibility, yes, especially dying oral traditions. Of course, totally dependent on the Shruti Smriti Parampara. Uh, I'm not sure about the third limitation that I was told. Of course, all kinds of social systems have limitations, gender limitations, hierarchy limitations. We were no different. We are not even claiming that our civilization was perfect, right? But these external concepts that are being imported onto our civilization, and we are trying to evaluate a 5,000 or maybe even a 10,000-year-old civilization by the moral standards of today. That is incorrect, in my opinion. I don't think lack of individual authorship, as the AI tool has told you, is a limitation of Bharatiya storytelling. Bharat has always been a collective entity, so collective storytelling is a strength, not a limitation. Even the fifth one, so this tool, whichever you have used, doesn't have Bharatiya sensibilities, and that is why the answer that it has given for limitations is coming from a very from a very non-Bharatiya prism. So again, religious rigidity, moral, tying it to religious or moral instruction, it's not a limitation, and there is so much scope for imagination or critical narratives in Bharatiya storytelling. Of course, we can go on discussing about these aspects.
Ma'am,
Zelam ma'am,
Kalpesh,
good evening. I have a question. Can I pose it right now?
Who
yes,
is
please go.
this?
This is
Just.
Shweta ma'am.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, Shweta ji, please go ahead.
Ma'am, Zelam ma'am, thank you for this wonderful session. But I have a small doubt, ma'am. When you said the story shift from this visual to oral form, the Shravana, the way we speak and the way we listen, what exactly are the changes we notice, ma'am? When and also while we go from visual to oral, there is also something which is the next form, which is written ones. The moment the language came into this, what change happens in this transition from visual to oral, or kind of when it is written down in the third form, like is something lost or gained during this transition? Does the meaning change, or uh, I don't wanted to know this.
So, Shwetaji, what happens is when we have visuals, uh, when you have something that is shown to you, you are attentive, but then your mind will directly be focused and attentive on what is shown to you, right? Rather than analyzing it or critically evaluating the thing, or even thinking it from a perspective of what could be. So when we actually listen to the stories now attentively, even if you listen to any audio podcast, see what happens is your mind is channelized and your entire body is giving you the signal while you listen now. What happens is you create a visualization. So you are transported in the very in the very first place. While you see something, you are somehow distracted to see, okay, what kind of clothes he has worn, what color is there, what is the setup, how beautifully it has been, the entire setting and the location is there, and all such things. Again, coming back to, while I'm addressing your query, I would like to touch upon a aspect that is written here by Dr. Kalpesh Parmar. He mentioned that there is a gap between oral and written. So, and there is a gap between Tulsi ji's, Ramcharit Manas. So, what happens is, if you have watched B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata, and if you have watched Siddharth Kumar Tiwari's Mahabharata, the story of Mahabharata remains the same, but the characters go through different, as we progress ahead and we want to pass on the knowledge to next generation, we need to cater to what interests them more. So understand, we need to make it more simpler to them so that they understand in the exact way they are very, very much used to it. Secondly, the aspect of connection, emotional connect also comes when you actually tell them in their language. Say, for example, Siddharth Kumarji's storytelling, of course, it was an adaptation from a Vedic Puran book, and he had, on board a consultant who helped him to actually. So it was not all fictional. I watched a particular interview in which he mentioned that it was all written, it was all scripted, and from then that he took the this thing. But one particular aspect where Krishna, before he kills every Kaurava, in Siddharth Kumarji's narrative, we see that he enlightens that character of what went wrong. Why are you given this punishment of death? And I'm enlightening you of what went wrong in your case. So it becomes very easy for today's generation to understand कि who questions कि कौरव के साथ नीति की बात नहीं हुई थी, कौरव के साथ अन्याय हुआ था. The one who questions this will get an answer when when actually Krishna tells that. Just for example, he enlightens Karna by telling them, you had this opportunity to change the entire clan, but you were so much devoted to Duryodhan that you did not even see that वो जैसा है तुम वैसे बनते जा रहे थे, which was not true. I mean, you had those dharmic principles in your life. Then what went wrong? I'm trying to tell you just before your death. So the way of storytelling is, it can be reshaped, right? The packaging can be reshaped just so that it connects emotionally, and the message is being spreaded to the current generation. That can be done, but sometimes it should not dilute the importance of storytelling. So so there has to there is difference, but then making it more realistic is no harm. So that is how it reaches to the current generation. Somebody just asked me in the comment box of, it's very difficult to teach IKS to my current, Gen Zs. So understand one thing, there are so many reels, even if they are AI generated. I mean, it has AI generated characters in it, but then the entire story that is being told, narrated, sometimes it's researched and being told, so let it be. So the thing is, it's still, people, Gen Zs are, they have this attention span. We will be talking this in my next session on 27th, where how digital platforms, they tell you the story very crisply. So so telling you that fact that if the story doesn't has to change itself, the shape, if it changes just to accommodate or just to relate to the generation, that is fine. At least in my opinion, it's fine. It is doing the
Yes, ma'am.
justice.
Thank you, ma'am. It's like the water is water. It just has to fit into the mold that is in this. Yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
And ma'am, thank you, ma'am. I just got the clarity that when your eyes are closed, you're not visually distracted. All other senses are very amplified. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Mm. Ma'am, to answer the other Gen Z question, like a suggestion, small idea from my side is that there are too many cartoons from Indian side, like that presented in a different form, like Role Number 21, which was Krishna in a school and all those things, the cartoons. So maybe they could watch that or something. Like stories in order to reach Gen Z, because I am teaching such generation, not directly toddlers. But the moment I start something, they ask, ma'am, why are you relating to this? As I spoke to Nidhi ma'am yesterday, I just have to give them, see, look at this story and look at this story. What are your opinions? What did you hear? Once the moment they start giving their opinions, I say that this is your story from the literature part. So they
Hmm.
get, oh, ma'am, yes. So you just have to ask them, and when you get the answers, what are their visuals, what exactly they have to do? Maybe asking them instead of teaching them or telling them the story, ask them, do you know this story and all those? Maybe like that we can connect, or whatever exactly anime or things they are connecting. So maybe through
Yes,
that
yes,
we can
yes.
actually go through the Indian one, the new one, the new animes and all those, like the Narsimha movie. Maybe
Hmm.
They
that
use
is
the
how it is.
VFX to show the strength of the character through the
Yes,
VFX and all the effects that are added. But
ma'am.
then, this is how we are, at least the
Mm.
stories are being passed to this generation through their level of understanding of the story and
Hmm?
character.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, just a moment. There was a,
absolutely right.
yes, I think somebody is unmuted. Can you please, somebody, I think somebody is unmuted. Yeah, thank you. So I saw a comment by Sudhakar ji in the chat box, but I can't find him in the meeting. And Madhavi ji also posted something about itihas and history. And I agree with what Sudhakar ji is saying. Itihas is not history. We don't have the time to delve into these conceptual details, but to everyone in this meeting, I strongly, strongly recommend, please read Professor S.N. Balagangadhara's work. If you have any confusion about equating itihas as history, itihas is what we have, history is what the Western world has, and the difference between the two has been amply, very strongly, and very rigorously in an academic manner. It has been clarified by Professor S.N. Balagangadhara of the Ghent School in his multiple books and research papers. Once you read his work, and I strongly recommend, he has written some wonderful books, The Heathen and His Blindness, Reconceptualizing India Studies, What It Means to Be an Indian. These are some of the best books that I have read to understand better about IKS. So, not going more into those technical academic aspects, I just simply recommend his work, Professor S.N. Balagangadhara. To quickly respond to Shweta ji's question, and then we'll close with Vidya ji's question. Uh, Shweta ji, the fact that Gen Z can't relate to these stories, or we as educators are finding it challenging to teach IKS, it's neither their fault, it's neither our fault, because we have been so deracinated and civilizationally uprooted, at least for the past 7 decades, in the modern post-colonial context, post-independence, post-political independence from the British. We have been purposefully kept away from our civilizational corpus. So, if 7 generations have stayed away from their knowledge system, what should we expect? They will definitely question, they will think of it as fiction. They will think, they will not believe, they will question. It's natural. It is unfortunate that teachers and students both have to deal with these challenges, but this is something that is unavoidable, because we didn't we were not groomed into our civilizational knowledge system for the past 70 years. Even though we were an independent nation, we were totally groomed in the Western knowledge system, and Western knowledge systems definitely have their own positive strengths and limitations, but that is their knowledge system, not ours, right? So don't worry about these challenges. Our stories are not fiction. I'm absolutely, absolutely convinced about it. I say it with great clarity and confidence. Our stories are our worldviews. Our stories are our ways of looking to life. Our stories are about creating, curating knowledge. And the experience of colonization caused this disruption where knowledge creation stopped. That is why today we are dependent on another knowledge system, and we are importing their knowledge, because the process of knowledge creation stopped because of many of these disruptions. So we don't have to worry, but we have to talk with clarity, conviction, and confidence that our itihas is not fiction. And I never ever call it mythology. It is my itihas. It is true. These are my facts, and these have shaped me. And of course, there can be more discussion on this. Yes,
Ma'am,
I
maybe
will
they're
put.
confused with the names also, ma'am. History and Charitra are like, if we go to the literal translation, I think Charitra is history. Itihas is something kind of past records which actually happened. The name turns like goes to that, I think. So according, if we read the ones, maybe my knowledge of Hindi is that, but Charitra is history. But Itihas is something bigger than that, which actually happened, maybe traditional accounting of something,
Okay,
according to what you were
because
speaking.
yeah. As I said, let's not. We don't have the elaborate time and scope to discuss this
Yes.
at this moment. I just have to take Vidyaji's question, but I request you to go to Professor S.N. Balagangadhara's work. And yes, Maharajanji, I will share the list of books in the WhatsApp group. Okay, last question, and then we round up today's session. Can the terms story and history be used interchangeably? I am wondering if referring to history as a story might make the content seem more imaginative rather than factual. Could you please clarify? Any quick thoughts on this, Zelam? Though I know that this whole discussion on itihas, history, story is quite a complex and layered one.
Ma'am, I would like to ask this actually because I'm Vidya here. I'm just adding some one point to it, because why I really want to put this is because I'm teaching kids. I'm more focused on giving the right term to them. So it's going to really help me on that, ma'am. Thank you so much for the end.
Yes,
Wonderful
yes.
session. Thank you.
But you know what, Vidyaji? Again, I am going back to Professor Balagangadhara's statement where he says that stop looking for accuracy in our itihas. Look for values, look for what you can learn. The moment you start thinking about whether this is accurate or not, factual or not, correct or not, then you are into the domain of history and not itihas. This is what he says. So think about this. Go to his works whenever you have some little time.
Yeah, definitely, ma'am. But what I would like to ask is what we pronounce and what we say is going to store in their mind for a
Mhm.
longer time, forever.
Yeah,
And they trust teachers more than anyone. So
correct.
we are in the position to use the right term. So when we can also equate it
So,
and tell them. I
Yeah,
didn't doubt
sorry
it.
to
I'm very
interrupt.
sure on it that because I trust my Itikasa and Purana, I also know how to say them because these places still exist. I can also give the links and those things. But what is the right term to use is what I want to in front.
Ma'am, sorry to disturb. Actually, story and history, historical stories also there, fictional stories also there. Again, there will be category about that. But coming to itihasas, sorry, Nidhi madam, but just I want to have a clarity. Even though we are proven with so many Dwaraka and all things from past, why we are not able to say that itihasa is not a factual thing? We should not go through that way. Of course, I will read whatever you books you suggested. But basically, this is what the fact, right? Dwarka we have seen. It's a fact.
mm,
It's a truth. It is
mm,
not a thing of belief or something like that. Why can't we say itihasa? This is what it happened. That's what the literal meaning
yes,
of Sanskrit itihasa. Then how could
itihasa.
you say that it is not? If there is a difference between history and itihasa, and we should look after our own cultural things. Why are you saying that like that? I don't understand.
No,
Yeah,
Just
ma'am.
my
I'm
opinion and
really
my doubt.
explaining on
That's all.
that. I'm
I'm
sorry
not
for this
interrupting you.
interruption. I'm sorry, ma'am. Sorry for this interruption. I just wanted to. And it's a very small and minute question where I put because we say a lot of stories. We talk a lot and we create imaginary stories. Where is that we need to use? See, we cannot say it's a Krishna story. We can say Krishna is a history. This is where I'm just trying to get which will react better. you I don't know whether I'm putting it in the right way where I can reach you, because I'm towards the toddlers and kids. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
into
I
Even for
totally
UG students, I am teaching like that only. Krishna is the history. It is not a myth. It is not mythology.
exactly, exactly.
Absolutely not. I won't. I cannot agree that. I'm not that scholarly known facts all about this. But with my little knowledge, I understood it's a fact. It happened. Iti asa. That's it.
yes, yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Madhviji, I'll very quickly respond to Madhviji's question. Madhviji, your understanding is correct only. And the way you're transmitting it to your students, it is correct, because we can't take them to these nomenclatures about itihas and history. That will be extremely confusing for UG students. What I was suggesting in terms of trying to understand the difference between itihas and history is totally purely from an academic point of view. When we are looking at Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, when we are trying to examine our civilization from our own lens, that is when Professor Bal Gangadhara says that in when we say history, it becomes more of a timeline, a chronology, events which have happened one after the other, which is mundane. It's just like that. But itihasa, he says, is full of values, morals, stories, lived experiences. That is why he prefers the term itihas over history, and he is just trying to build a philosophical argument from a very civilizational standpoint. We don't need to bring it to UG students, because that is not the purpose in our class with them. This is because it's an academic gathering. I wanted to draw all of our attention to this kind of debate that is going on in IKS at this moment. So
More
I
of the
just
thing, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt you about this one. Maybe I don't know about the toddlers and this, but when I teach UG students and PG students, generally they are of this mature level, like at least certain mature level that we can say this is what exactly happened. So, what are your
Hmm.
opinions on that? We can discuss. But for toddlers, just to make them understand this is what exactly happened, you might use a story. History is just the term for a subject, as instance, and as Nidhi ma'am mentioned, a timeline in that when you're explaining something, it might be in a story format or just a teaching kind of word. You just explain something, and that explanation might be a story or it might be a general giving of the facts. History you might treat it as a
Okay.
subject, or it depends on the terms. As an English teacher, I might say a word in isolation has too many meanings the way you use it. And as ma'am asked, how do I do it for toddlers? Maybe ma'am, you can say, after this is a story I'm going to tell which is of this meaning, but for UG students or something, it is very different the way we teach. So maybe that thing is differing, like they
No,
are
no.
very
Thank you.
different
Actually,
as
Thank
the
you
Nidhi
for
ma'am,
concepts you
whatever.
use.
Yeah, as Nidhi ma'am said, I got the point. We are not
Hmm.
behind the chronological order or when it
Hmm.
happened, but it is happened is what agreed.
yes,
It's
yes,
not
it
wrong.
is
That's what
totally
my
agreed.
understanding.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it's
it. That
totally
is the
agreed.
way we can tell them. You leave
Yeah, yeah,
about
Yes,
when
ma'am.
it happened, how it happened. It is happened. That's the
yeah, yeah.
what the meaning exactly of itihasa. This is what
Yes,
happened. When it
it is
happened, we
what
are not
happened.
telling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a what do you say perspective of the person who is
Hmm.
looking into. Even the
Yeah.
Western cultural word history also, they have
Hmm.
kept those sort of limitations or definitions for history. We may not accept that, or we may accept. That's a different thing totally. But the facts are happened. That is, stories happened is what the important thing we have to forward to our next generations. Is what I strongly believe.
Yes.
Thank you,
Correct,
ma'am.
correct.
Hmm.
You are
True, ma'am.
And
absolutely right.
just to clear here one thing, the scriptures that we have in form, it had all the we have the knowledge in form of narratives that are being scripted and documented, right? And then we take the idea from them, and then we actually share it in form of a story, just to make it more engaging. So we can tell that this
Exactly.
has been scripted as in form of a narrative, and now I will be telling you in form of a story, so that it becomes. See, if I tell my students that I'm going to tell you a narrative, they will be. It will. I mean, it will not sound that interesting. But if I tell them I'm going to tell you a story, that will definitely have an impact, and they will be glued to it. So the
Yes.
engagement comes from the story, even if you are turning the narrative into a story.
Mm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, even you can give a tag that real stories. That will make more interesting. Generally, when students will ask, ma'am, something inspiring stories you tell today. So I start like that.
Hmm.
So you can tag them like inspiring stories, influencing characters, or real stories.
Yes.
That way we can approach them.
Yeah, yeah, of course, Madhviji, you are absolutely right. It happened. This is how it was. This has happened. It is not fiction. This is not some imaginary land. Of course, there may be some interpolations and improvisations which happens in storytelling. The story might have it has been passed through an oral tradition, so it will come with some of the characteristics of the oral tradition, but we definitely have to reinforce this message in our young generation that, see, this is the corpus of your civilization from which you can learn so much. You can implement these values in your life and you can take pride in what you have inherited as a Bharatiya. This is the message that we need to convey, with all the layers and complexities which can be discussed in a free, open minded discussion with our students. And I have observed that once they understand that you are open to discussion, they also start appreciating the value of our knowledge system. So, thank
Yeah,
you,
I'm happy to
everyone.
share with you that my UG student, one student, had given for our magazine, as I'm a co-convener of our college magazine, she gave about, interpretation of the present generation students how to learn things from Sabha Parva of Mahabharata.
Wonderful.
So that is what, yeah,
Very good, ma'am.
thank
Nice.
you.
Very good. We can also look from perspective of person writing it. Itihas is usually written by someone observing it. Absolutely correct. History is written by looking at the chronology. Exactly, this is also what I was trying to convey. History is just a mechanical representation of chronology. Itihas is bring somebody reporting writing, which means that it happened. Definitely. Great. Thank you, Arpit ji, for adding that perspective. And I'll try to share some resources in our WhatsApp group, especially Professor S. N. Bal Gangadhara's work. And I know that I've recommended his work quite often in the last few minutes, but I think it's really important for all of us. With this, I think we can close our session for today. So, first of all, many, many thanks to Zelam for such a lively, interactive, engaging, knowledgeable session, taking us back to our Aitihasik roots and our civilizational past. Yes, yes. Thank you, Arpit ji, for sharing these YouTube videos. You can please copy paste this link, dear participants. And thank you to everyone for also actively participating in the session. So quickly, please don't leave. Just give me 1 minute. For tomorrow's session, please note that you have to fill this Google form, which Dr. Pinku, who's the resource person for tomorrow's session, has requested that all participants respond to this Google form. I'm forwarding his message in the WhatsApp group. Do not please forget to respond to this Google form, based on which he will be building his session. He is a scholar on the Mahabharata, and his session is on the storytelling legacy of the Mahabharata. So before you join tomorrow's session, which will be on the narrative structure, smriti, and hermeneutic traditions of Katha found in the Mahabharata, please respond to this Google form.
Ma'am, could you please share the link in the WhatsApp, ma'am? The moment we leave, the messages will disappear.
Yes, yes, I will immediately share it in the
Mm.
WhatsApp group, but I'm just requesting that everybody fills it when you receive it in the WhatsApp group. So yes, let me just quickly stop recording. Yeah.